it's not often that I get something and have low expectations of it and have a completely different experience than I expected. But that has been the case with this ST240 Duo by Eyesky. So let's take a look. So guys, this is not an unboxing. Now, I'm just throwing that out there because I did package everything up in the box to bring it with me. And, you know, I wanted to show you the externals of the box just so that you could see the way it came. I mean, there's a lot of information on the outside of the box, and some of this stuff, you know, we're going to talk about while we're going through this. But this isn't an unboxing, because I've already opened this and used it for over a week and probably performed charges on, I'm going to say 4 banks of batteries, did some discharges, did some storage charges. Like, I wanted to use it, and like I said, I didn't expect much out of it. I wanted to use it just to see if it was going to be useful for me or whether I wanted to use it for a giveaway. You know, whatever the case may be. As it turns out, I'm going to keep this. And I'm going to keep it. It has actually become my preferred charger. So when this came, I mean, it was packaged really well. We don't need to sit there and act like the packaging is a huge deal, but it was inside of a foam wrapper. It's got an instruction manual. It's got all this typical stuff. And then wedged, you know, into these flaps are all the additional connectors and things, right? I mean, this is your normal array of balance board and gator clips. Like, all this stuff is in here. Awesome. Yeah, forgot that was in there and was looking for it. We'll come back to that. But everything that you might need is in here. I actually threw this in here. That's the Fat Shark charger. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. It's all in here. It comes with everything. So, with that said, let's get the box out of the way, because honestly, we just don't care about that. This is what we care about. Now, this charger supports up to 10 amps on 2 channels each, okay? Now, there's one thing you got to keep in mind with that, and that's this right here, okay? We have 2 possible ways to power this charger, AC or DC. Now, AC, it supports 150 watts. DC, it supports 240 watts. So you can actually get just less than about double the performance out of using a DC power supply. And that's where, you know, things like this come in. Where, you know, you can hook this up to your car battery, your truck battery, and plug this thing in. We're going to go over the outsides of this a little more. But if you have an external power supply, a DC power supply, whether it be with banana plugs, gator clips, doesn't matter, and you want to power this through DC, then you're going to be able to pump more amperage through it for use in charging. Now, AC 150 watts, I can get about 7.5 amps total, and that has to be split across both channels. So that's the only big thing you need to keep in mind. Something I haven't thrown out there about this yet, and I want you to keep it in mind as we go over this whole thing. This is an $80, $85 charger, okay? And for $80, $85, there's a lot of value here, just a ton of value. So I'm just kind of rotating this thing here so you can kind of get an idea of everything that's available from a peripheral standpoint. On the front is your typical banana plug connectors for both of your charging channels, your balance ports, your balance ports. You have some temperature model jacks as well as some PC link jacks on both sides. And then on the back side, as you saw, there's your AC input for your AC power. And it comes with the wall cord. Okay, comes with what you need to plug it in AC power and get going. Or here's your DC power connection. And again, with that, that's supporting 11 to 16 volts. So it's not 24 volts, but, or 11 to 18 volts, sorry. But it's not a light lifter per se. So, but let's go ahead and get this thing plugged in. Now, We'll just plug that in there. There is a power switch on the back, which you have to turn on in order to get the system turned on. Now, once we get it turned on, the interface is touchscreen, and initially I was expecting this to be like a really clunky experience and just not intuitive, and as it turns out, I didn't need to break open the manual or anything. It is an excellent, excellent interface. So it starts you out here on channel 1. If you want to switch to channel 2, you just touch the channel 2 area of the screen here. Now on either channel, you have your different battery charging methods here that, again, you can touch just to get into it. There's your Lipo. And then from there, you can decide whether you want a storage charge, standard charge, balance charge, or discharge. And then you can set all your parameters right there as well. So you can change your battery cell count, your voltage. And that's one thing I want to point out to you. Now, I've only been using side 1 on this, or channel 1. So I have the full power of the unit, or the full capability of the unit going to just channel 1, because I really wanted to see what I could get it to push, and I suck at math when it comes to electric stuff, right? So how do I do that? Well, I just max everything out to the best of my abilities and go with it. Turning it up to the full 10 amp, running off AC and running a full balance charge, when it first gets started and it is pumping everything in, it'll push about 7.5 amps. So that's pretty good. Now, customizably, you can also adjust your your end voltage too. And you can go up to 4.35 volts. So even though it will not let you go to Vanover levels, it does let you overcharge in the case of, you know, a high volt charge. I'm going to go ahead and turn that back down, because here in a minute we're going to play with this a little bit. But look, you can go low too if you want to or need to for some reason. So I'm going to leave that set there at 4.2 volts. And then discharge, you know, you have very similar settings. You can set what you want your end voltage to be. And honestly, I think this is really handy, because if you're going to be storage charging something that you know is going to be sitting around for a while, it actually pays to set it just a little bit high, knowing that over time that charge is going to dissipate a little bit. And we're not going to get into all of the storage charging discussions or anything right now, but just know that you can change all these settings right here through the touchscreen interface, and that it's really, really easy and intuitive. Now that's when you get into the specific battery charging options there, but you also have some general settings that you can set. So public settings means that it applies between channels 1 and 2 to both. So with this, you know, you're determining whether you want to be able to set your AC power, how you want it to be split across the channels. So you have those options. What you want your low voltage indicator to be, whether balancing speed is normal, slow, fast, so on and so forth. I like leaving it set to normal so that it can just do its thing. And then it has a buzzer, or, you know, a chime sound for when it's done. And then you can get into the specific settings for each channel as well. You know, safety settings and whatnot. So, very, very intuitive. Very easy to use. And then it even comes with memory banks. Okay, so you can come in here and come into this, and basically, you know, you're setting what you want your memory settings to be. This is kind of like a quick access menu. So if you know that you typically run 4-cell or 6-cell, and you know you're typically charging 3 batteries or 5 or 6 or whatever the number may be, you can set your current amperage, your finishing voltage, so on and so forth. And rather than having to drill into the menu, you know, come in here, change this, change that, you can just come into your memory, tap that, hit start, and she'll go. Very, very nice feature. The monitor, this is where you could come if you wanted to plug a battery in and take a look at the internal resistance or each cell's voltage. You can take a look at how everything's been balanced out, so on and so forth. And then you even have the option of calibrating each cell's voltage indicators here. Now that's super handy, because over time, inevitably, things are going to, even if they come from the factory pretty well calibrated, over time they'll lose that calibration and they'll need to be touched up in order to stay accurate, and this is super easy to do right here. So let's plug a battery into this thing and take a look. So let's go ahead and I'm going to do this through a balance board here, so you'll see this is just a plain Jane balance board. In fact, let's do this and give us a little bit more. Alright, and then what I'm going to be using here is just a run-of-the-mill 1500 mAh 4S battery. Now I say run-of-the-mill, these GMB batteries are sweet, but that's another discussion for another day. So using this, there we go. Let's go ahead and get this plugged in. Now, I can't speak. I have suspicions, but I haven't gone to the trouble to figure out if those suspicions are accurate or not. That when you check internal resistance with one of these balance boards, that you're not getting a really good reading or a true reading to the fullest of your potential, per se. But, you know, if I come in here with the monitor now, you can see what the storage, or what the charge is per cell. And if you hit the IR check button, it'll go ahead and do an internal resistance check, and then underneath of each cell, go ahead and report what those resistances are. Okay? Pretty standard stuff there. Now if I come into Lipo, again, I've got this set to a 10 amp charge. We're going to end at 420, so on and so forth. When I hit start, she's going to start going. Now this has a pretty cool interface here. I'm going to be honest, I don't get a whole lot out of this graph. I mean, it looks neat. I'm sure it makes this easier to sell when you show people this stuff, but honestly, I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal. But with this, it gives you a time-based graph, and it shows you what the voltage is at any given point in time. And so when this charger initially kicks off, it looks like it pushes a bunch of voltage in. I don't know if that's actually what's happening, because here in a minute you'll see it drop off, and I don't know if it's just setting the scale or what it's doing, but you can see there what it's done. Now the current that it's currently pushing in is 7.5 amps, so I know that's a lot for this battery. It's not something I normally do or are going to keep doing. And then you can see what the total battery voltage here is. And if you look, you can see where each cell is charged to as well. This comes in handy when you are trying to see, you know, where your storage charge is at in the grand scheme of things. So this has an inlet vent over here for the air. It has a fan over here, so it's blowing that exhaust air out because of the way balanced charging works. Again, Joshua Bardwell's got a great video on that. But you guys see where I'm going. You know, it tells you how much total mAh or capacity you've pushed into it, what the current charge is, what the current total voltage is sitting at, what your input voltage is, what your internal temperature is sitting at. It's Celsius. Now that's on top of the heat sinks or on top of those FETs, and then if you had an external temperature sensor, that would be reporting as well. So pretty cool stuff. I'm extremely happy with this, and one thing I haven't done yet is to use the DC power supply with this, but that's coming, and that's mostly just out of convenience. I just like to be able to plug this thing into the wall and let it do its thing. I honestly see myself using this as a travel charger now. It's not the smallest, it's not the lightest, but having an internal power supply is a huge benefit while I'm on the road. I'll take care of that later. So it seems to be of a really good quality, again, considering that it's an $85 charger or $80 charger, something like that. But there's so much value if you're just getting into an RC hobby and you're doing any type of rechargeable battery charging. This thing gives you the ability to, out of the box, have everything you need to get your charge game going. And then if you want to increase your ability to charge, you know, you can buy a DC power supply. You can use that DC power supply. You can use this thing on the road to charge from your car battery. You can do all kinds of stuff with this without having to keep investing and reinvesting in whole new chargers. So is it a replacement for something like an ISDT? Probably not. I can't tell you for sure, just because I haven't been using it, but it definitely doesn't have the power bandwidth that some of the higher end ISDT chargers have. Will it compete with the lower amperage chargers? I have no doubt. And all because you do have the option of using that DC power supply or using an external power supply to power this thing, and then just using its internals for the actual charge monitoring and whatnot. So know that this thing is available, know that it's an option on the table. Personally, I've been using a 2-channel charger at home, but it kind of caps out at 6.5 amps. It has an AC power supply built in. That's why I bought it, because I wouldn't have to monkey around with, you know, figuring out the DC power supplies and if I had to do any wiring of it myself, and I didn't even want to get into that. With something like this, you wouldn't have to. But with this, even through the AC power supply, I'm getting more amperage pushed out through one of those channels than one of my others. So now I'm just using them in tandem. I throw one bank of batteries on that charger, one bank of batteries on this, and let them roll. You can find a link in the description to this item on Amazon. It is not an affiliate link. I don't make anything from this. I do want to be forward and say that I was sent this unit free of charge from Eyesky for evaluation and thoughts. Really just for the review, and I thought I was either gonna not review it or, you know, just do the Amazon review and be done with it. But I think you guys need to know about this. Keep in mind too, I think that this is rebranded through Eyesky. I think that this is made through another company, so if you see something that looks similar, has the same layout, has the same options, you know, it's the same thing. Now, whether it's the same price, a different price, we're not going to get into that. But as far as the Eyesky offering, solid choice, solid charger. Everything about it is impeccable, and I think it's worth a look. Whether you're looking to enhance your charging game, get a road charger, you know, something for while you're traveling or field charging out in the field, whatever the case may be, this thing is definitely worth a look due to its versatility. It's got a great build quality and its intuitive user interface. So as always, guys, as you're out flying, I want you to fly safe, be smart, and happy crashing.